Greetings YouTube and welcome to my latest weapons build. This is a Razorback. This is an edging tool for gardening. This is a Razorback handle. This is a pretty standard shovel handle, nothing all that spectacular. Got a socket here holding the shaft in place with just a rivet there. So one fastener, take that off and it's gone. Take one fastener here, take that off, and this is gone. Save the grip, I might find a use for it. And I'm going to save the shaft, I might find a use for it. I may just take the shaft off and not worry about this right now, because I'm not going to reuse this shaft for this project. I'm going to reuse this right here. This is a broken, not broken, but a cut off high impact plastic handle. It was probably part of a mall, of a split and mall at one point in the past. I bought it just like this, which I mean, intentionally knowing I would find a use for it, and I've found a use for it. So what I'm going to do, I want to turn this into an axe, like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, and this flat is going to end up being here, and this is not flat, so I'm going to put a flat in this. I'm going to come in, I'm going to figure out what the angle is I want, because I want the angle to match this here, cut that here, and then make a cut straight down and then shape it so that this flat will have an edge on it. I'm not going to go halfway through. I'll probably go a third of the way through, and that's going to come here and will be held in place with fasteners. Probably, I'm thinking maybe 3, maybe 2. I haven't decided yet. But they'll go through there and through here and hold it together. Now, as far as this is concerned, the socket it's kind of boring. I mean, I could just leave it like that and sharpen it. I mean, yeah, there have been weapons in the world that were hollow plugs. No, what I think I'm going to do instead is come in here and make a cut from there to a point here, turning this into a point. So the back section of the axe will have essentially a curved spike, and the curve will actually give the spike increased strength because it's better than just a piece of flat steel. Though this is pretty robust steel. This is you're not kidding around with this stuff. It's pretty good quality stuff, and because it is already tooled, it made tool steel. This means it's going to have a nice edge. So this right now, which has been used, but it's not in horrible shape in the least, I'm just going to sharpen that right up and make it into a much more functional edge designed for attacking, human targets as opposed to your average lawn edge, that kind of thing, your garden edge. So that's what this is going to be. So what I need to do is I need to just take this off first. So I need to come in here with just take a cut-off wheel and just go boink, because I'm going to be cutting that off anyway, so I'm not really all that concerned if I nick this at all. So yeah, come in there with that, there's a nice little gap in there, put that edge in there, boom, that right off, and then just tap this thing out, and then this will come free, and then I've got a handle for something. What that is, I don't know yet, but it'll be something. Because this is nice wood. The wood handle, the handles, the wood for handles like this is good stuff. It's hardwood, I like that. So let's get this freed, then we can start looking at it, and then we can start figuring out what we're going to do, because the first thing we're going to need to do once we get it freed is look at this, because that's the heavy lifting right here as far as the cutting. I'm going to have to make a fairly precise cut and then grind it and shape it to my liking. So I haven't 100% figured out how that cut's going to be made. I may want to do I want it straight, or do I want to make it kind of curved? I don't know yet. So let's get it off. Let's get the handle off first, and then we can start playing with design concepts. So here we have the rough line I plan on cutting. Actually, getting this handle off was a bit of pain, because even though I got this off without too much difficulty, there's a bit of marks on this side, but I had to actually get an iron bar in here and then use the iron bar and a hammer and just nail and hammer this thing a lot. It was very, very snugly put together. So the Razorback company does assemble their tools well. Kudos to them. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make the cut on this side of the line. It's going to be proud. I'm going to end up, this is not going to be a point when I'm done, but I can get to the point. I don't want it to be a point yet. So I'm going to come just on, start there, come there, and I want to take that hole out, and then I'll reverse it, and then since I'll have this line, I can then, should be easier to I actually may cut it from the same side. I don't know. It might work better that way. Oh, no, we'll find out once I get this side off, because this will come free. This is not this is just a rolled, so this is not attached to anything. So once I get that line cut, this whole piece of metal should just go thwoink onto the floor. So that is my next thing to do, cut that thing off. So those came off pretty easy. So now I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go from here to here, and I'm going to cut on again on the outside so that I don't have a point yet. I'll grind the point in to where I want it after, but I'm going to come in like that, and so we're going to go. So this is going to end up being curved to here. Then just from about there forward will be a point. And I think this is going to come out nice. It's going to have a good, like an arrow point kind of vibe going on there, and that's really what I think is going to be groovy. So 2 more cuts, and I think this end is then at the refining stage. The point is now complete. I've just knocked off all the edges on this so it's not overly sharp. This is all deburred. Got a nice little chamfer going on this side and a little chamfer going on this side. It comes to a nice point, but it's not overly sharp. It just is because I don't want it to get, you know, when it impacts something, I don't want it to just fold over. So it's actually not, if you look at it this way, it's not razor, it's not coming to a needle point, and that's what I want. It's more of a wedge than a point on that side. But that came out really nicely. It really did count because I took advantage of the swell to give it like that's like, you know, almost a broadhead style vibe going on there. Came out very nice, very happy with that. And because of this curve, it's got a lot of rigidity. Okay, so now I need to figure out how I want to modify the shaft, because I don't want to sharpen this yet until I'm done. This is not sharp. It's got a point, but it's not sharp, so that's not too dangerous. I don't want an edge when I'm working on it. The edge will be the last thing before I bolt the blade onto the handle. So now I need to lay out the handle so that I can figure out where I want that cut, and see, because I really probably want the handle here. Because that, yeah, see that if you get up to this point, you start to hit that swell. So I want it like there. So I want it to be on the flat. It's not perfectly. If you can see it like this, it's got a quite slight twist to it. I don't care. When I'm done, you're never going to notice that. And remember, I am doing a post-apocalyptic theme. I mean, I'm turning a gardening tool into a battle axe. So, you know, if there's a little bit of twist, who cares? So I'm going to now figure out how I want to get the handle on there, get some layout lines on it, and then make a shallow cut, and then make that horizontal cut. But I don't think I'm going to do that today. I think I'm going to call it good today, because this has come out very nicely, and it's almost time for lunch again, which is a common theme in my videos. So I'm going to go upstairs, relax for a bit, and then have my lunch with my wife. And it's errand time. Woohoo! Time to go do errands. So, hope you've enjoyed it up to now, and I'll see you next time. I've decided I want to do something different with the axe. I could make a point, but I've done pointy axes quite frequently. I don't want to lose all that nice edge, but I also want to make sure that this has kind of a forward motion to it. So I'm going to take off this section here, which I think is going to make it more interesting, and it's going to mean that you're going to get, I think, a better cutting arc with the style like this as opposed to keeping it square. So I'm going to knock this off. I'm going to cut on this side of the line, and then I can grind it to specificities when I'm finished. Then I can put an edge on it, and the amount of difference between the hardness from here and here is not going to be great, so I'm not going to worry about it. It is going to mean that I'm going to have to deal with an edge coming through these, but that's not going to be horrible. I think I can knock those off flat enough that it's not going to be an issue, and on this side it's not going to be an issue at all, I don't really think. So I think that's going to give it a better look. So that's what I'm going to do on this side. I'm going to cut it on this side because it's flatter. It makes my life easier. It was easier to draw a line on the indentation side as opposed to the raised side. All right, so time to suit up and then cut off that bit right there. It's almost like I know what I'm doing, seeing as I just did that by eye. And I'll be able to find a use for that thing at some point. And if I think about it, the amount of raised lettering on this isn't great. That's not going to be difficult to buff out at all when it comes to grinding the edge. I think that's going to be quite reasonable. And like I said, I'll find a use for this thing at some point in the future. Make a nice back spike on something, don't you think? So we're going to keep that around. And now it's going to be time. Now it's time to grind this in a little bit, because I wanted to always be proud, so I have room for, you know, errors and things like that. Because occasionally I do screw up. This time it was not one of them. So I'm going to grind that in so I come closer to a point, not much closer, probably about half that line. Because when I put the edge on, I don't want this to be a razor point, because it's not going to end up a razor point when I grind in the edge. So that's the next step. Grind this down till it's about half that line is gone. So I have the blade roughed out now, and it's time to start working on the shaft, because I'm not going to be able to figure out where I want the holes in the blade until I have this. I can actually set it in this shaft. And so I know I want to put a line right there, about a third of the way, maybe a smidge more, maybe 40% of the way through this shaft, and along that line. And then I'm going to have to cut a long cut down to that line. That's going to be the one that's going to be a pain in the butt. That's going to test my skills. We're going to see how well we do. And I'll be using this Irwin fine tooth pull saw to do the cutting, because it is the saw that gives me the most control, because it has the finest number of teeth in my hand saw collection. So we're going to try that, and we're going to see what happens. So here we have the roughed out blade and sitting in the handle. You notice I have blocking down there to keep this thing from moving that way, because I'm putting pressure on it that way. And this was helping kind of keeping it from moving the other way, forward. So that's what the clamping is, and this is just holding the blade in place for demonstration purposes. I discovered that white stuff. Guess what that is? 3 guesses. It's fiberglass. Yeah, which is why my voice sounds muffled, because I'm wearing a mask. Because I don't want to breathe in fiberglass dust. Really, I don't, because I was grinding this stuff literally into powder. And let's hear it for diamond saw blades, because that's what happened here. I started the cuts with my hand saws. With the fine-toothed one down here, then I used the fine-tooth to start, then I used the rougher cut pull hand saw to get it going a little bit further. Then I realized I was never going to get through this stuff with my saw. This is just too hard to go through with a pull saw, whether it's a pull or push saw. And so yeah, so that didn't happen. So I got out a couple of different saw options. Went with the diamond wheel. Thought that would be the best option, and by gosh and by golly, it was. It didn't really melt the plastic all that bad, which is nice. Probably because there's breaks in here. That's probably one of the reasons it handled the plastic so well. But it handled the fiberglass just fine. It just made a hell of a mess. I'm going to be finding fiberglass dust in my shop for years probably. So this is now, I need to curve this before I take the mask off. So I need to curve this on my belt sander. Curve that off so it makes it a little bit prettier. There is going to be a slight gap there, but that's just the way it is. And before I take this off, I'm going to mark where I want the holes to be. So I will put one mark there, and then just make an equal mark down there. And I'm only drilling 2 holes because I have to go through fiberglass, and that's going to be a pain in the butt. So yeah, we're only going to do 2 holes, one there and one there. That should be quite sufficient to hold this in place. You know, and I don't think it's going to go anyplace. And I've got it again about a third of the way through. So this ends up being roughly where I want it. This edge is about in the middle, or close to being in the middle, or close enough for my taste. And it looks visually, this bump here comes very close to being here. So visually it looks pretty decent. It looks like it actually belongs where it is, which is a nice thing. So take this clamp off. finish this up by put a curve on there so it looks a little better, and then I'm going to mark this first, then I'll curve that, and then we can work on drilling this out, and then once I get that drilled, the handle will be finished. And then once I get that drilled, the last thing to do is sharpening this blade, which has been the last thing I've saved it for, because again, I don't want to be dealing with a blade that's got a sharp edge if I don't have to. This is dangerous, but not that dangerous. That would be very dangerous, because this is going to be pretty sharp, hard steel, so it should take a decent edge. Alrighty. So let's mark a hole, and then put a curve on this so it looks a little bit cleaner. Whew, this has been zero fun. My safety glasses are covered in friggin' dust. I imagine my head is too. But at least my face isn't, because I covered my face with a mask. Well, actually, I just used a bandana, because I don't actually have any masks down here, I don't think. I just, when I need it, I'll throw a bandana on my face. Because I always have a bandana in my pocket. Always. Very useful tool, bandana. I always carry one. The one I'm wearing is rainbow. So there we have it. This is just dry fit. There are no nuts on this thing. This is just being held in place with those bolts acting as pins. So that is complete. Again, that little gap exists, but I can live with that. The top looks much nicer. It kind of curves behind it. You can't really see it so much. And I like the placement of the bolts. They're looking just fine. So now it's going to be time to grind that edge. I need to check the time, see how much time I have, because that's not going to be a fast process. This stuff is not. It's fairly hefty. It's not 3/16 of an inch probably. I haven't measured it, but yeah, it's going to take a bit to grind that down to a bevel that I'm happy with before I go about putting a final edge on it. So I'll be getting out my metal grinding discs for my angle grinder, and I'll be just bolting this down to my bench and just start working back and forth. It's almost meditative in some ways, grinding back and forth over and over again. But that's what you got to do to get an edge on these things. So yeah, so far I'm quite happy with the way this looks. I think it's coming out very well, and it's should be cool when I'm finished. Should definitely be cool when I'm finished. And here she is, completed. This is just really awesome. It is just, the proportions are off from like a wood cutting axe, and it's just enough over the top that it's kind of the whole post-apocalyptic science fantasy vibe. It's not quite full-blown like anime scale stuff where the blade would be the size of my workbench. No, but the scale is just above that, so it does look like a weapon far more than it does look like a tool. And I actually broke out some nuts I had that have nylon washers in them. I don't really have a reason for it, but I had them, might as well use them. I like the low key on that one, and I got these. I picked two that are close to the same kind of patina, so that looks. I think that blends in nicely with the overall look, and the edge is got a nice shine to it. Got a smidge of a burr on here. I don't know if I want to take that off or not. I don't have a strop down here. I need to get a strop down here. I have a work sharp, but that's not the same thing as a strop. Strop is something a little bit different, but. Well, it's not shaven sharp. It is sharp. It's definitely dangerous. And as I said, those letters buffed out on the positive side, and I got below them on the back side. So those letters did not interfere with my operation whatsoever when it came to the actual grinding of the edge. I got past that in the process of getting to an edge. So sadly, it doesn't say Razorback anymore, because that was a cool word. But it still does say, where's it still on here? Yeah, it still does say caution, wear safety glasses. I get the feeling anybody using this thing is not too concerned with safety. Alrighty, so this has been my latest weapons build. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope also that you follow me on DeviantArt and Instagram. DeviantArt is the permanent home for the stills that I put up of my builds. And Instagram is where I post sneak peeks, bargain finds. Frequently you'll see bits and pieces I either find by the side of the road or off of Craigslist, or things I find real cheap that end up in my builds before they ever end up in my builds. As well as occasionally I'll post pictures of weird things I find that I don't buy at thrift shops and things because, I just don't need them. Also, it has cute cat pics, and let's face it, who doesn't love a cute cat pic? So, I hope you've enjoyed yourself here today, and I hope that you'll come back for the next one.